This is News with the Disney Dude. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel for more content, and please hit that thumbs up if you like the video. Here now is the news for Monday, September 22nd of 2025. Santa Claus is moving to Communicore Hall for Epcot International Festival of the Holidays. His meet and greet times will be at 11 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 2 p.m., 3:30 p.m., and 5 p.m. He was meeting at a different spot, but they have decided to move him to Communicore Hall, which I think is a great idea. I mean, you know, it's this big that you have this big building that's really underutilized a lot of the time anyway. So, you know, I putting a meet and greet in there is great. It's really gonna, fill out that space. I really hope that they, not only do the meet and greet in this space, but they put it, they decorate it, make it look nice. Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see what it looks like for the Festival of the Holidays. But I really hope, that they use this space really, really well. These past couple festivals, they haven't used the space at all. It's like they just kind of slapped in certain things, and I walk into that building and it's like, well, this is not great. This does not look good at all. This is really underutilizing, really not utilizing this space to your advantage. So, that was my biggest thing with the gingerbread houses. I was like, okay, that's a pretty good use of that space, but most of the time it's not a good space. So I really hope that they utilize this space for the Santa Claus meet and greet. If not, you'll hear about it from us. So, but we're just gonna have to wait and see on that. Walkways are closed during construction at Disney's Fort Wilderness Meadow Swimming Pool area. So if you are staying in this area, please keep in mind that they are doing construction. So you may hear or see construction happening during parts of your day. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind if you're staying at Fort Wilderness, that you will probably hear and see construction happening in the area. Oh boy, here's a controversial story now. Jimmy Kimmel is returning to his late night TV show after controversy. So I'm not really talking about this. This is a very big political story. I'm not getting into this whole thing. All I will say is, should Disney have laid off Jimmy? No, I don't. I think that was a very big mistake. They shouldn't have, caved in and, let Jimmy go. I don't think that should have happened. On the other hand, I get it that they have to do an investigation. They have to do, all kinds of things, so they don't really want the show to go on at that time. But all I will say is, I don't think that he should have been let go. I'm sorry, but you know, if you disagree with me, then you know we can absolutely have that conversation. I don't want people jumping in to in the comments and be like, well, you just like everything Disney and that's it. Blah, 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 blah. You know, I was speaking of which, I was at work the other day, and we got to talking about this controversy, and I basically said the same thing. I said, that Jimmy should not have been, let go from the show. I think, I think that was a mistake by Disney. I don't think that they should have done that, and everything. And this lady that I work with said, "Well, you agree with, you think that everything Disney does is good." And I was very offended by that. I was very offended. I said, "No, I don't agree with everything Disney does." Okay, I said that's further from the truth. I don't agree with everything that Disney does. All right. I love this company. Now, I love this company. I love Walt Disney. I love this art form. Okay. But that doesn't mean that I love every single thing about the company. Okay. I don't. Okay. There's a lot of stuff that I don't like about the company, but the stuff that I love about the company, luckily, really, it's there's much more positive things to the company than there is negative. All right. And that's why people get, they think that I love everything Disney and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's not the case. That's not the case. Okay. I don't like everything that Disney has done. Okay. Now, there's, again, I like more of what Disney does than, negative, but, there's some negative things that I don't like about Disney and about the theme parks and stuff like that. So, when people say, well, you love everything that Disney does, that's not true. That is not the case, okay? When Disney makes a mistake, I will tell you that. I will be the first to tell you. That. I will get in front of this camera and I'll be like, Disney absolutely made a giant mistake, okay? With this Jimmy Kimmel thing, I see both sides. I try to see both sides of the equation, okay? Do I think that Jimmy should have been let go? No, I don't. Okay. On the other hand, I get it. They had to do an investigation. There had to be an investigation while he was off. Okay, because that would be very unethical for them to do that while he was still on the air. Okay. So but that's my feeling on it. Again, I'm not getting to this whole political thing because it's just, I could lay out a bunch of facts for you, and somebody else could be like, well, this is, and we would be having this giant, debate that's not going to solve anything. Okay? I have my opinion, you have your opinion. Okay? So that's the way that I look at this, okay? And people, I'm sure people are going to come into the comments and be like, no, you're wrong, Jimmy should have been canceled and blah, 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 blah. And, and then they give me this whole thing on how they feel and stuff. And it's like, look, I don't care, okay? Okay? I don't care, all right? I don't care how you feel, all right? I'm looking at this with facts, okay? I deal with facts. I don't deal, now, emotions come into it, absolutely. They absolutely come into it, okay? It's always going to be that way. But just to, I have to be realistic at the same time, okay? And to just say, well, Jimmy Kimmel should have been canceled and that's that. Why? Okay? You have to have logic to back that up instead of just saying, well, I think he should have been canceled. Well, why, why do what are the facts that what's the reasoning behind of your decision? And then they're like, well, then I just don't like him. Well, that's not a valid reason. That's not a valid reason to give me. You have to give me a fact. You have to give me facts. Okay? I don't, just because, people say, well, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel, and I feel like he should have been canceled. I don't care how you feel. All right? That sounds bad, but I don't care how you feel. All right? I care about facts. Okay? Facts. You have to have facts to back up your reasoning. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. Okay? And look, if you want to have that conversation, a smart conversation about, I think he should have been fired because of blah, 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 blah. And, you're stating facts and you're stating, smart things, then we can absolutely have that conversation. But for people to come in and be like, well, he's woke and he supports, the Democrats and he doesn't like Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. Those are not good reasons. Those are not good reasons, okay? Those are just random. That's just how you feel. That's just random, okay? You have to have facts. Facts. You have to have facts to back up what you're saying, okay? I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way. I am sorry, okay? But that's the way it is. We have to have facts to back up our opinions. Okay, we have to have facts that, otherwise we just say things that are, that some people mean, but some people don't mean. And it's like, if you don't like Jimmy Kimmel, why don't you like Jimmy Kimmel? And you have to give me actual facts instead of just stating your opinion. All right? And again, I know it's a hard thing. It's a very hard thing to not bring opinions into this. But, we have to think about not only opinions, but we have to think about the facts as well. Okay? And if you refuse to look at the facts, then I am not having a conversation with you. I am not. Okay? Because now you're at that point you're just angry. And I'm not having a conversation with an angry person because it's going to get us nowhere. Okay? It's going to get us nowhere. So, if you want to have a reasonable, factual conversation, I will be glad to have that. But if you're just going to jump in and, say, that, and give me, actual nonsense, then I'm not having that conversation. I'm not having that conversation. Again, this is going to rub people the wrong way. It is. There's no way about it. But that's what we should be dealing with in this day and age is facts. Facts. And not just dumb opinions. Okay? You can have an opinion, which is fine, but it has to be, it has to be a reasonable opinion. Okay? It can't be, well, I just don't like Jimmy Kimmel. Why don't you like Jimmy Kimmel? I don't know. I just don't like him. What? What? No. no, then I'm not having that conversation with you. Okay? No. It has to be a real conversation. Okay? I don't know. But let me know how you feel. But that's how I feel. Okay? Rivers of America construction update. So there's more concrete, scrim, and scaffolding added to this. They are, well underway. They're, getting, they're really trying to hurry this up. We're heading into our really, October, late September into October is this is when it gets serious. When it gets serious with hurricanes, okay? So they're trying to hurry this up before, they have to stop because of the hurricanes, okay? And our last story is only one date left for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So I'm not going to go into this rant again because I've already I've already did a rant my last show. So you can go back and watch that video if you want me to talk about, these quote unquote, low capacity parties and such. So if you want to watch that video, you can go back and watch that because I'm not getting into that conversation again. It's just, again, it's, based on facts, okay? This is based on facts, okay? I started going to the Halloween party in probably I became an annual pass holder 15, so I think 16 or 17. 2016 or 17 is when I went to my first Halloween party, and the Christmas party, and I loved it. I was like, man, this is great. Low crowds, great entertainment, great snacks. I loved it. And now it's just getting to the point where it's just another park day. It's just another park day because they keep overcrowding the parks during these quote-unquote after hours, low capacity after hours events. All right? So I don't really think that they're low capacity anymore. I just really don't think that they are low capacity anymore. I think that, I think they're just shoving people in again. And I really think that that's sad. I really think that that's sad because if you're offering me I will say this again. If you're offering me an after hours event, and you promise me, a lower capacity and lower capacity wait times, then that's what you should be having. Instead of, like, oh, I have to wait, 40 minutes for Haunted Mansion. I can do that during the day. Why would I want to wait, at an after hours event, 40 minutes for a ride that's supposed to be lower capacity? Why would I do that? Okay? So, that just seems stupid to me, okay? But, let me know how you feel. If you've been to the after hours of, the Halloween party or the Christmas party, let me know how you feel if it's getting overcrowded or maybe it's just me. I don't know, but it just seems to me that it just gets more and more crowded every single year. So, but just, maybe it's me, but I don't know. But let me know how you feel, okay? So, but there you are. There's your news. Again, if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to my channel for more content. I thank you guys very much for watching this video. Guys, have a great evening. I will see you back here on Wednesday. You guys keep each other safe and healthy. And remember that tomorrow is just a dream away.